I'm going to close out that chat and let's get started. You guys all should have in your possession, should have this sheet. And it's really just to get a head start. Where are you right now when it comes to AI? When people mention AI, people are either deniers, oh, I tried it, it didn't work for me. Likely that's not you if you're on this YouTube, or excuse me, on this video right now with Riverside and webinar, or you're a doomer. I think it's going to kill us all. And that's one side. And then there are the dreamers out there. And the dreamers think it's going to solve everything and it's going to be an age of abundance for everybody. Where are you right now in that? Go ahead and mark a dot or put a mental dot on where you're at. Next, if you could type in the chat right now, what quadrant do you think you're in for this today as we get started? Maya's at a 6. Wow, look at this. Most people are in the 5, so maybe you're not joining unless you're a 5 there. All right, well, I appreciate you guys chiming in for this. So, well, let's get started. So I will tell you what I'm going to do first is I'm going to move you over towards 4 a lot in the beginning, and then I'm going to explain what the real opportunities are as we go forward. And this is why I want to turn the camera off so I can just focus on that. So let me do that. I'm going to turn my camera off and just go over here to the slideshow to get started. So some key thoughts and quotes. AI won't take your job, but somebody who uses AI might. That is probably the most popular quote when it comes to AI out there and the people that are building all of these things. You know, technology progress is a relay. This is Sam Altman yesterday. We build on the past, so use AI wisely. It's neither inherently good or inherently bad. Most of the people that I talk to here in Nashville who don't understand AI are scared of it. And there's right to have a healthy fear of it. But in reality, it's just a technology, just like the phone, just like the internet, just like the computer, just like the typewriter was for things. This age of physical abundance is real. We could see tremendous gains in gross domestic product. We could see tremendous gains when it comes to food for people and ending world hunger. We could see medical breakthroughs. We can see all of that stuff. But the reality of it is the disruption's probably going to come faster before the gains for most people. And that's something we've got to be prepared for as we minister to people in our daily lives and we work with our families and friends regarding that. This is not the Terminator. What you're seeing with AI today is not the Terminator in this self-thinking and you can do all these things. It is not. LLMs and what we're talking about with ChatGPT and this stuff today cannot get there. And as you dig in more, you'll understand that. But it will usher in change faster and at a greater scale than we've ever seen from technology before. And how that impacts people is to be determined. We're talking changes like 9/11. We had this change and that it changed everybody. We had COVID that changed everybody in an instant. It's not going to be that fast, but it is going to be dramatic, and we've got to be prepared for that. And this bottom one is probably the most important here, is you don't need to build the AI itself, just build with it. The future belongs to those who adopt, adapt, and create. There will be a lot of new jobs, and there's going to be a lot of older jobs that go away as a result of this. Generally, in the end, it means there's a great expansion when we go through things. So some quick level set on definitions, just so you know what this stuff means. So AI and machine learning, okay, is the traditional AI. It's been around for 40, 50 years. It takes a lot of training. You have to give it specific algorithms, and it's try and repeat, try and improve there. And you make little changes to get big impacts. Most of the gains productivity wise that you see that companies have today are based on this because it's iterative changes related to things. Generative AI is the data that is what we call ChatGPT and Claude and all these sort of things. It can generate new content from a prompt. And basically it works like a neural network and it creates relationships and it has basically the entire internet out there in it. And as you hone that, it gets better. There's a term you hear a lot called AGI or artificial general intelligence that basically means it acts human and it's as smart as a human is in general things. There's a lot less talk of AGI right now and much more talk about super intelligence, which is the next one, which is where the models themselves get trained specifically on topics and are much better than humans in those topics. That is becoming more and more common. Certainly, teaching to the test of these models, it far surpasses human ability in those situations. LLM is large language model. We're going to go through that. The most common ones are ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok. Those are the biggies out there. You also probably have heard DeepSeek and some of the others from China. Those are large language models, and I'll explain how those work here in a second. Reasoning means it starts to think through an issue. It doesn't just give you an answer. And why that's important is the more it thinks, generally, the more it can think through the problems. And the more you prompt it to think a certain way, the better results that you get out of it. A relatively new term, and I'm going to show you this today, is called vibe coding. Vibe coding is basically you just ask what you want the computer to do, and it will code an application to do that. So would you like Pac-Man? Would you like the game Pac-Man? You can do that. I prefer Galaga to Pac-Man. Space Invaders. You can just literally ask for that, and it will actually code it for you. And I'll show you examples of that. And what everybody's starting to talk now is agentic AI, and there's a lot of controversy over what that means, but it basically means you have agents, and agents might be things that do or answer questions for you, customer service agents. The best one out there is Synchrony Bank in terms of my view, in terms of what it does with the Sam's credit card, their customer service. To me, it's worth getting the credit card just to see how good their bot is for that, but I'm a geek. But a true agentic AI means the AI conducts a series of steps and not just automated, but it actually thinks in between those steps and thinks the best way to go about doing something. So much like a human would do, that's where agentic AI is. So I just wanted to level set everybody on those terms here. There's an old axiom when it comes to business that says you can have it faster, better, or cheaper. Pick two. Well, that's not true anymore. Today, you can get all three. When the first industrial revolution happened, the individual item was the steam engine was 50 times more expensive than it took for a human being to do that job. And it took about 80 years for that to be adopted by 50% or more of the people in the world. Then we had electricity came, then we had mass productions in automobiles, et cetera. As you can see, the tech cost to labor has improved and the adoption time got faster. Well, this is the first time we've actually got a industrial revolution where the technology is actually multiple times cheaper than the cost it is for the user to do that and for the person that it's replacing. And that's what's so dangerous about this technology and why it's changing so fast. So when you looked at the second industrial revolution, electricity, it took 42 years for 50% of the households to have electricity. Now with AI, it's less than 3 years. The adoption rate as well, the time it took to reach 1 million customers or 1 million users, it took 5 days for ChatGPT to get 1 million users, and that was free, where an auto cost you nearly $30,000 in today's dollars to do that. Dizzying advancements that we're seeing. In January alone, we saw a 9,000% improvement in the value curve when it came to AI. So what were the steps that happened? DeepSeek came out with their model, which is a Chinese model, and they reduced the cost of what they call inference by 30 times to do that. At the same time, NVIDIA Blackwell created their new chip, or NVIDIA, their Blackwell chip is 30 times more operations per second. It went from 60 billion operations per second to 1.8 trillion operations per dollar spent there. Massive increase in the value curve there. And because of DeepSeek, it forced OpenAI to move to their latest model, which even got changed last night with ChatGPT 5 being released. But in January alone, we saw a 9,000% improvement in the value there. So a year ago, we were looking at a PhD not in their field. Now we're looking at a PhD in their field. And one could argue with ChatGPT and agents under that, it's like having a team of PhDs in their field working on your particular project here. So just massive things. If you look down to this with IQ score, I don't even know where ChatGPT 5 or Gemini 2.5, those sort of things. But the estimate is by the end of the year, AI will have an IQ in human terms, which would be between 160 and 180. When Grok came out a couple weeks ago, they trained it and they tested it on what they call humanity's last exam. Okay. Now, the best human, let's think Ken Jennings from Jeopardy, champion there. He could score maybe a 5 or a 6. Okay. And Grok scored a 44 on that. And ChatGPT 5, I think, just scored a 42 on that, which is great, but it lacks common sense in a lot of different areas. So it can do all this book knowledge, but a lot of times the common sense piece is not there. And here's the scariest part about that improvement is this is the dumbest AI you're ever going to use. The expectations here, if you look at this list, this is by David Shapiro, one of the leaders out there on YouTube about it. His best guess is we're probably sitting between 3,000 times and 30,000 times value per dollar, which means the power and the utility per what it costs you as a user to use. Now, when you think of that, you got to separate the cost to build this stuff and the cost to use it. But the cost to use it is so much less and is rapidly decreasing. And that's why the power is so crazy as you go forward with this. Now, geopolitically, we've got two primary approaches. The American approach is the Tim Taylor, more power, more power, more power type of approach. Build the biggest model, do everything. And ChatGPT 5 changed this a little bit to be a little bit more like the Chinese model, which because of restrictions on chips, they had to take a completely different approach and say, there's an old axiom, necessity is or scarcity is the necessity that causes innovation, so to speak there. And as a result, what China did was more of a distributed model. They took existing open source models, they distilled them down. You don't need to know how to do Chaucer and write haikus for a lot of this stuff, but it distilled it down to core functionality there. You don't need all the history of time. Maybe you just need the history for the last 5 years or 10 years. And it's more a point guard approach where it listens to what you want first and then chooses the best model. And that was one of the changes that was made last night in ChatGPT as we go forward there. So those are two big things from a geopolitical, country level type of thing. The speed of improvement and autonomy, which is how long can AI go without a human being have to be involved. That was 7 months. It was doubling every 7 months a year ago. And now it's doubling it every 4 months. Right now in 2025. So it's not just the geopolitics regarding the world stage there, but I just want to give you a lay of the land of the geopolitics of the AI companies because there is a lot. This could be a soap opera, like Days of Our Lives. So OpenAI is the first major one that we all hear about. Now, OpenAI was founded by Sam Altman, and it was funded by Elon Musk and a number of other people to be a nonprofit to find safe usage for AI. What they've encountered, however, is an understanding that, gosh, this thing costs a lot of money to do. And we've got to spend a lot of money to improve this. And we got to buy all these chips and all this compute and all this stuff. So they're trying to transition into a for-profit or what they call a public benefit corporation so that they can raise more money. Elon had a major falling out with these guys. This was supposed to be a nonprofit thing, only for good, etc., and really ticked off at this whole for-profit thing. So he spun off, and we'll get to him later. Google was actually first. Okay, Google has the deepest bench of everything AI in it, but has been really, really slow to release it. They've got the innovative dilemma. Google makes almost all of their money on the 10 blue boxes, 10 underlined things that come up in search and selling search ads. Everything else is a loss. YouTube is a loss, etc. All those things lose them money. So they have been slow to put things out there as fast because it kills the cash cow, so to speak, to do that. But you're going to start to see some changes there. Anthropic is a group of people that was the safety team of OpenAI. As OpenAI started to get more aggressive and move ChatGPT to thresholds or boundaries or foundation type of exploring beyond safe, what they called safe. Okay. The safety people left, and a lot of them went to Anthropic. And Anthropic has a tool called Claude. Their biggest funder is Amazon there for that. So you've got Microsoft, the US government, and Oracle with OpenAI. You've got Google themselves. You've got Amazon there. And then you now have XAI and Elon Musk and Tesla with Grok. Okay. They went from zero to tied with the best models in 18 months. Nobody thought you could do more than 32,000 GPUs in a cluster. He did 100,000, now 200,000. Once he broke that barrier, now we're seeing massive clusters of these chips to think through things. And it's just amazing. So you've got Elon, who hates Sam Altman. These guys hate each other there. And this is a race now to build safe AI or get to that super intelligent level. And the reason you want super intelligence and why there's this battle with China and why we want to go there, as whoever hits that first is on the highway and is accelerating faster than anybody can catch up to. And that's why all this money and all this stuff is being pushed into that. Another player is Perplexity here. Okay, Perplexity just did the Google search better. Best way to explain it, it just gives you the answer. Jeff Bezos was one of the founding partners of that. They have done a really terrific job. Love Perplexity. We use their API internally. Does a great job there. Microsoft is partnered with OpenAI, but they are estranged, as we would say right now. Their contract states that if OpenAI hits AGI, the artificial general intelligence, they get separated. And so right now there's a big definition there as to what's going on. As OpenAI wants to go to be a public company, there's a lot of strain in what's going on between those two folks. OpenAI got $13 billion from Microsoft originally. And that's why Copilot and all that stuff you can get there. And then the darling that's just raking in money like crazy is NVIDIA. They make the chips, and they have a 2-year advantage on any other chips in the world. But what makes them so effective is their CUDA platform, CUDA platform, is used by all the video game. So anybody that's developed a video game is immediately an AI developer because it's the same exact language. So that's your geopolitics. That's your soap opera related to things. So let's explain how an LLM works. It's a large language model. They're basically trained on the entire internet. They actually work by predicting the next word, which is amazing when you watch it. You ask a question, it may think about it. It writes the first word, reads that first word, reads your question, and then predicts the second word. And it just keeps doing that. And that's how it gets the answers. And it does this in a nanosecond. So as you're seeing it spit out these words, it's actually predicting the next word. Okay, the pros of that, it's amazingly fast and it seems incredibly intelligent, almost godlike, as it seems so much smarter and thinks so much faster than you do. It's great for tasks where you need creativity or ideas. It's terrific for brainstorming, planning, writing. It can absorb or be trained on huge amounts of custom information. You can put into Google, you can almost put the Library of Congress in there as context. It's excellent at summarizing things, picking out the most important items there. The cons is it'll make stuff up. By its nature, it's a people pleaser there. Items are rarely the same 2 times in a row. And what it will not do is make leaps of logic for creativity in and of itself, unless you prompt it to look at it that way. And then when it does, it can have massive implications. So when you think of things as, hey, I'm looking at this business operation, or I'm looking at how this car works, what could you tell me from the flight of a bird that would impact how this might work? Or, hey, try this opportunity, or what if we did this? Which is amazing to watch. It doesn't do it on its own, but when you prompt it to combine 2 things, it takes all that knowledge and starts to brainstorm with you. So that's what it's really good at, and that's what it's not. So I'm going to take a break for a second and take a breather and get a drink here. So I'm gonna tell you some things that'll scare you, particularly my friends in South Africa, because you have intermittent power to begin with, and that is, what is your power backup plan? Because this stuff is enormous in terms of the power needs that it has, and it's scaling way beyond what we're able to generate in power. We have been growing power plants in America at 2 to 3% a year for the last 20 years. But the AI power needs are growing anywhere from 35 to 40% per year. There's simply not enough power to go around. And so we're going to see a lot more blackouts and brownouts coming. It's also what we're doing with AI. So if you look at a standard Google search here as a level 1, a 5-second video, you know, all those baby videos out there, those baby videos take 3,147 times the amount of power than a single Google search does. And as this reasoning and harder problems come into play, the ramp up of power is enormous. It's hard to put into words. So in 2023 alone, Microsoft and Google consumed more electricity than 100 countries. And you can see the slope on the right is how fast that was happening. By the end of this year, AI systems alone will consume more power than twice that of the Netherlands there. Grok, when Elon put Grok inside Memphis, it was enough power for 48,000 homes. He wants to put, and that was 200,000 chips. He wants to put 1 million chips down in Memphis there. Look at AEP in Ohio. They've got requests for 9 New York Cities worth of power by 2030. And as the U.S. has said, Stargate is 25 gigawatts of power that is required beyond what we have today. And that's why you have to have your own power plant. And this was probably the most ridiculous thing I saw. For Elon, in Tennessee, we can't generate the power necessary to do the 2 gigawatts of power he needs for the 1 million chips. So he's literally packing up a power plant from overseas and shipping the entire thing to the United States so that he has power. The biggest issue is the turbines. It takes about 5 years to get a turbine for some of these things. And GE and Nova, I think it is called, a division of GE that does the aircraft engines. They are taking aircraft engines now and jury rigging them into power generators now because of this power thing. So I created an app here. You guys will get this, but you can just go through and say, hey, what's my power backup options for my house? The blackouts are expected to grow 10 times by 2028. And I'll let you guys do that on your own as we go forward. The last thing to scare you here is make sure your family has a code that's unique to you for safety. You're not going to be able to trust anything that you hear or say. So for instance here, this is me in German. Not only is that not me, that's not my voice, and I don't speak any one of those languages. That cost me $2 2 years ago to move into each of those languages. There. And so you need a family code so that when you get a call that your kids have been abducted and you need money, or this has happened to grandma, or grandma gets a call, this happened to their grandchild, you have some sort of thing that is unique to you that keeps your family safe as a result of that. So all that stuff that's scare tactics, just remember, we always project the future without God in it. And God says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. God's going to be with us wherever we go in this. So don't be afraid, but have a healthy fear of what's coming so that you can start moving on how you can implement this technology for yourself. So tools, we're going to go through a lot of these. This is just a grid of my favorite tools for writing in my own voice, etc. Claude is the best, still the best today, even with the new ChatGPT. Infographics and coding, it's really good. ChatGPT just made a big enhancement last night on coding, so I would put a green button there. Notebook LM, we're going to go through that. This is a great tool that's free that you can use. If you haven't used it, study guide, I'll show you that. ChatGPT is the one tool that I'd recommend for everybody to get a paid subscription for, the $20 subscription. Although the ChatGPT 5 is available to you for free, everything you do in there is mostly public. If you pay the $20, everything is private and we'll train items there. Google Gemini is the Gemini version. You've got 2 products that are really, really good at editing transcripts and doing podcasts called Riverside FM and Descript. 2 vibe coding platforms over and above the guys on the left are Replit and Lovable. There's a couple other ones out there as well. Grok 4, as I mentioned, is Elon's AI there. Really good for coding, for pictures, for search, and real time information. And it, in my mind, has the best voice mode out there. It literally sounds like Candace Cameron Bure if you want to talk to her. It's pretty hilarious in that way. And then Perplexity we use for everything, but things like search and infographics and getting answers quickly, those are tools. So how do you get the most out of generative AI tools? You need to follow an acronym. And RISE is a great acronym for that. You want to tell the LLM who it is, because it has all the world's knowledge. And if you say you're an expert in plumbing, or you're an expert electrician, or you're an expert thoracic surgeon, okay, it's much, much better in the results that you get. And then you've got this context or your input. Give it as much context as you can to the system so it knows what to think about. Give it the instructions you want it to follow there. If there's a specific way you want things done, give it those steps. And then finally, the expectation, what the outcome should be that you want for this. I would like this in a CSV. I would like this as a table. I would like this as an Excel spreadsheet. I would like this as a picture. I would like this as a video. Give that expectation there to it, and you'll get dramatically better results in what you're doing. And then finally, this is really important. Ask it to double check what it wrote and double check what it told you, and also to not make up data. Okay, so hallucinations are when it makes things up. I'm literally waiting for the kid who comes up and says, "Mom, I didn't lie, I just hallucinated," because that becomes a term that becomes common in the vernacular now because of AI. One of the things that came out in ChatGPT yesterday that was pretty sobering is there's not a child alive today that will be smarter than AI that is in their lives. You know, we think of kids that are phone native. They're used to using iPads and phones there. And we laugh when they can't use a rotary phone or don't know what to do with that. But this is the dumbest AI ever. And our kids are going to grow up native to this technology, much the same way we are native to electricity today. So the best teacher is YouTube. There's several folks on this list that I highly recommend. There is one guy that I would highly recommend you pay the $7 a month for his stuff, even if you pay for 1 month. If you let me know, I'll give you access to a custom notebook that I have. This gives you access to every one of his classes and every one of his prompts and everything that he does. So Casey is fabulous. I think I can show you what that looks like. So Casey ran a marketing agency for years, and now he teaches people on AI. His thing is Blazing Zebra. Highly recommend him for what he does and for your tools there. Okay, everybody else is really good. There are podcasts here. I'm going to let you listen to those on your own for the sake of time, so we can get through demos and questions as a result. By the way, I'm willing to go over. I've got an extra hour after if you want. We'll keep recording for that extra hour. If you've got to drop, I totally understand. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to answer a number of the questions that were in the survey when we put that out there as we go here. But as we get into the demos, I wanted to show you some of this stuff. So the rule of thumb, if it requires creativity and the answer, it doesn't matter if the answer is the same every time, use ChatGPT or Gemini or anything. Use that kind of product to just get your answers and what you want. Okay, as I mentioned, it's cheap. It's amazing for knowledge work, brainstorming, sales ideas there. And as I mentioned, it can make stuff up. It's a people pleaser and may not give the right answers without specific guardrails there. If you need the exact answer and it needs the exact way every single time you want to do that, you want to program it. And that's where we go with vibe coding. Okay. And when you have a program, it can run on your machine and it just does what you want it to do every time exactly the same. The risk of that is if there's change to the way you do things, you've got to change the program. Okay. And it may get more expensive to build that in the future as a result. The hybrid approach, which is really where the major advancements have come and the killer advancements have come, no pun intended there, is the hybrid where you use the LLM to program and then you use that system to be there. So I want to show you some of these as we get going here. But Rule of thumb, fail fast and learn. You've got to experiment and learn about what works and what doesn't work for you with AI. You can't go from your mother's arms to running with AI. You've got to learn what works and what doesn't work. And you've got to take the mindset of Thomas Edison. Find the things that don't work. You will get frustrated, but trust me, it's worth it when you get these major enhancements. The one program I recommend you buy is ChatGPT. Pay the $20 a month. This allows you to secure your data related to that, and allows you to personalize it, leverage your memory, and become the ultimate consultant. What I want to do is show you in ChatGPT how do you do that. So if you go into your name down here at the bottom, okay, you go to customize ChatGPT, and it's a little different depending on your device and what your browser is, or if you're on your mobile device. But you can customize ChatGPT. Like I have a custom Bible study thing here that allows me just to put a verse in. And I tell it, I want it to go through all of these teachers. I want the original language, word for word, from English each time. And it'll go ahead and do that. I say, when I want a picture, I want it to be a photo realistic picture, etc. I can put all of these details in there. Okay. As well, you can put other things in this customization. But also when you go into this, you can go into your settings, and then you can go to data controls, and you say improve the model for everyone. You say off. Okay, so this will secure your things. When you pay the $20, actually make sure your data does not get shared with anybody there. Now, if you're doing something illegal and it gets subpoenaed, from a ruling authority, they can get access to what you share. So also be very careful there. That being said, if you pay for it, you can limit what data gets used that others can see outside the model for that. So what's great about ChatGPT is you have these custom GPTs, and we're going to get into this in a second. But if you go to this GPT section, there are all of these GPTs that were made for everything. Like this one for tech support advisor has all the manuals for just about every tech product that you can think of are in there. So you could say, hey, my computer's not working, it's not doing this, etc. This one's an expert specifically at that. The one on email outreach for the marketing pieces there. This jobs GPT I'm going to talk about is a great one for helping your kids and help you figure out what kind of jobs are going to be impacted by AI and what jobs won't be, and what are career options for things there. There are several of those, and there are literally thousands of these custom GPTs there. Another thing that's really good is you can create projects, and in projects, you can create this project. I'm just going to go into a project and say, let's go into the IHL marketing thing. I can add files and I can add instructions to this. Now, Claude does this as well. Gemini is a little more confusing for that. But to the degree you can give it more and more context, the better it is. But ChatGPT is the best one, in my view, at being the easiest to use for everybody. And that's the one I recommend you spend the $20 on for things there. You can create your own custom GPTs there. Private versions that you can share with everybody on your team, or just a particular set of users there. And then you can connect it and extend it with connectors to your emails, your docs, etc. Okay. Another tool to share with you is Notebook LM. So let me pull up Chrome to show you this. This is one of my favorite, and this is why I said pay the $7. I'll send you to the link to Notebook LM. What Notebook LM is it creates a custom chatbot just for the content you put in there. And you can ask it to make pictures, you can ask it to make outlines, you can ask it to do quizzes. It was originally designed for students and researchers to take really large research papers and summarize them. My son Gabriel put his textbooks and all his stuff in for one of his classes and asked it to create a multiple choice question from the material. It predicted 17 of the 20 questions that were actually on his exam there. This is fabulous with what's going on. But I have loaded up all my favorites from Casey into this tool, and I'll share this one with you. And you can share these with others, but because his stuff's copyrighted and that's how he makes his living now, just want you to pay the $7, and then I'm happy to share this. But I have added other things to this. My favorite videos that I found on YouTube to do like master prompts, etc. And you can create notes regarding these things. If I said in here, I wanted to do 5 underrated uses of perplexity and limit to that, and I want to do a mind map just on that, it'll actually go out and create a mind map and help you think through what's going on for stuff there. And that'll go through. Actually, let me do it this way. So here is generating the mind map as we go through for that. And to show you kind of how that, here we go. And you can just keep exploding those ideas, and it shows you the organization of each of these, and it's just really, really helpful for getting a hold of large amounts of information and understanding them very quickly. You can also create podcasts, and now they added the feature to do a video overview of it as well, and it's like Drive Time DJs doing an actual video of that. Phenomenal, and it's a free tool that you have access to as a result of that. So once again, I highly recommend you do Casey's $7 a month there, so I can share this thing with you, because it's like jumping forward very, very quickly in AI knowledge as a result of that. Claude is, once again, the safety people that were there related to ChatGPT there, so those are the things there. I was just kind of looking at the chat here. Does black mean they don't provide that? No, I'm sorry. On those buttons, going back to those, the green buttons meant that those were my favorite out of all that they do. The black buttons there, which are just that they offered that functionality. Green just meant these are my favorites for how I use it. Sorry, I should have been more clear on, let me go back to that. So that's what I meant by, if I go back to, where are we at here? This here. So the green ones were my favorites. The black ones means they do that. So let me go forward. So Claude is awesome in that I taught it to how to write by me. Okay, so let me go to a project. Let's do this. I'm going to upload a file. Okay, I'm going to upload a file that is, here we go. Let's just do this. I don't even know what's in there, but I have trained it to write like me. Okay, so I can go in here, and this is dangerous for you, those that are in education, because the kids can teach it how to write like themselves here. Okay, and I can just say, write 1,000-word blog on this topic, and just say go. No, 100-word blog. I typed it in there. Maybe it's 1,000 words. So it's going to be very, very quickly. It's going to write 100 words instead of 1,000. There you go. There's your 100 words that it took the entire document and wrote it in there, and wrote in my style. So I meant to write that as 1,000 words. But what Claude is excellent at is creating infographics. If we go in here and let's say we looked at US retail sales, and here is a artifact that I uploaded some data on, and it created a view of retail sales as a result of that. It just writes the code, and this is what we call vibe coding. And it goes in and actually writes the code to make that up. And now this is an HTML page, which I can download. Oh, well, this one's got a TSX page. So I actually published this and put it on a website. It's a little harder to run that on your box locally if it takes that approach, but you can ask for a web app for that. So Claude is excellent at coding, excellent at infographics, excellent at following your writing style. That's the great stuff related to Claude. They are being extremely stingy, though, on how much they let you use of it right now. It's very, very good. It's probably the best at coding. ChatGPT 5 maybe is good now, but it is literally something that has been life-changing for us within our company. Getting to first draft is really good. Now, it's important to note Claude and now ChatGPT and all of them, they have these native integrations with other tools like Notion, Canva, Gmail, your Google Drive there. They can automate the marketing and the outreach there by connecting to those things. And that is really, really good. And as I mentioned, the writing in your style and infographics, we can take things that might be 15 to 20 page papers, and now we can do the entire process in less than 2 days when or what used to take 2 days to write, now in 2 hours or less. And most of that is figuring out which data that we want to put into the writing. So those are major things that Claude is really good at. So vibe coding. Now this, I want to just show you the examples because this is where for me it started to say, wow. So I'm going to show you cleaning email bounces. Okay. So whenever we send an email out, we get 350, 400 emails back that are bounces. This person quit. They're no longer here. Unsubscribe me, take me off your list, etc. here. I'm going to show you a tool in a second that does all that stuff literally in, I say 3 minutes. It's the longest time is exporting the emails there and finding the file and letting the file transfer over. It's immediate and it's incredible. So here, and then we have marketing of the reports. We weren't even doing this. So this is something that AI allows us to do, but we vibe coded an app that does this. We weren't even doing. Now we can identify who we should market any report to in our industry in less than 3 minutes. There's a tool that I created that allows you to go out and find social media links for donors, for people, for companies. I'm going to show you that one. And then the one that I'm most excited about is our research analysis. We created a tool that takes what was taking me over 4 days to do. And I turned the camera off, but assume a 1-inch binder that is in pages with 8-point font. And I'm looking for needles in a haystack. That's what I would do with our research previously. I'm going to show you it doing this immediately in less than 15 seconds. And then you got to go and clean some of the things. It's simply amazing. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to switch to comment once again and show you these things. So first one, the email cleaning. So what I'm going to do is I had output all of these items and where are you? This one right here. These are all my deletes from yesterday. Okay, now watch this. Okay, as soon as I hit open, done. Okay, there were 224 rows. It found 26 that were either they don't work here anymore or they were permanent failures. Okay, I'm going to copy that email list. Now we have 7 other lists that these go into. Okay, all of these other ones. Let me do this. These 7 lists. Okay, now I'm going to be the slowpoke here. I got to hit allow. It is now not only processed all of these, it's downloaded all of those. So if I was to go to my Finder app and go to my downloads, you will see every one of those got downloaded immediately. It just cleaned every one of those by all the bounces and all the things there. So that saves us about an hour a week there. The next one I want to show you is the finding social media thing. So this is something we did. So I just loaded up a sample. So we created a tool that'll actually go out and look for the social media items for each one of these things. So in this case, we're looking for NCR. Now we're looking for sale point. You can do this for individuals on your donor list. You can do this for companies in your area. Something that's not in here that I highly recommend you guys do is something, there's a tool you can get from Oncely called the Google Maps Scraper that is amazing and can do things there. So when it struggles to find something, it'll hang for a second, but then it'll move on to the next one and start pulling those as it goes through. We did 11,000 companies in a weekend here last weekend with this tool in particular. So let me shut that one and I'll shut this one as well. This one is in terms of who should we market to, as I mentioned. We weren't doing this at all. We just couldn't. There was just too many people potentially do that. So I loaded up this research report. I loaded up our vendor list, our software vendors, our hardware vendors, and then the personnel. And then literally all I have to do is go through it. And it recommends the categories based on its analysis of the report and what it saw. And I might say, you know what, this is also impacts category management. It hits distributed order management there. So now I'm going to hit match companies. And now it has found a list of 892 companies that match those criteria. Okay. And these are the technologies. So I can customize and personalize my outreach to them as a result of that. Okay. But it's not just that. Who are the players there? So we uploaded that personnel list as well. And it found 54 contacts for that. And one of the little bugs is it doesn't show you all that stuff online. But if I hit this button, and then I go to export, I can export that entire list that fast. It's done. Okay. So if I was to open this again, you would see just briefly, and I don't want to expose people's email addresses, but there you go. There's the list of everybody and how we can customize that from a marketing standpoint there as well. So let's go to the last one. And actually, if I go back to that spreadsheet that we were that I was showing you, when we do analysis and we do crosstabs in what we do for IHL, we get these sheets from Jerry that come in, and this is the stuff that was an 8-point font that I'd have to go through, and I'd have to look for all these greens or reds in here and say, okay, what does that mean when I see a green or a red for things there? So we created a tool that allows me to upload those. So I uploaded 6 different cuts of that data. Now that may be 1,000 rows in that spreadsheet, and I could say, I'm looking for something that has a 25% positive threshold or a negative 50% threshold when it compares to its thing. And then I want you to outline the top 35 statements that come through for that. I can press that button, and there it did. It just ran through every one of those things. Like, so you can go down to the bottom. I go down to the bottom here for one of the winners. That's easy. That's US sourcing. Where's my winners? That's tier 2. So sales winners. Our best performing retailers are 49% more likely to be general merchandise retailers than sales laggers. But it really gets interesting that the sales winners, the people that grew their sales the greatest, are more likely to have 30% or more of their products actually sourced from the United States there in that particular question. But that saves me an incredible amount of time because we built that tool with vibe coding. And I know we're running out of time here, so I want to just show you that. But those there, Delphi AI, this is an absolute game changer. Let me show you that. Where did I put that? Is that back in? Here we go. This for all the nonprofits that are here. You need how many times have you said, gosh, I wish we could just clone ourselves. I wish we could be available 24/7 to somebody. I wish this would have things here. Ask Fran is one we built for the senior communities and senior caregivers here in Franklin, Tennessee, and Williamson. You can text with it. You can chat with it. I'm going to chat with her here. Okay, I'm just going to start a call.
Hi, I'm Fran. What's your name and how can I help you today?
Hey, Fran, how are you?
Oh, Greg, I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking. It's always a treat to hear from you. How about yourself? What's on your mind today?
Can you tell me what the memory care options are in Franklin?
Greg, Franklin has some wonderful memory care options that can provide excellent support for those dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's. One standout is the Fountains of Franklin, located at 3.
So if you can imagine, if you go into that, so here you go. Here's what it's, you can text on this stuff as well. Now, you can ask anything to Fran on senior issues in Franklin. You can ask about where can I take my pet there? Can I go to a restaurant with my pet? Where do I find this help? I've got an autistic child. What's a care situation for that? There's a better one on that particular, but if you said help, my mom's got Alzheimer's, what do I do next? Fran will tell you. But my friend Dave Kreekak has created Stella, which is for special needs parents to find services and put together plans. And that's askstellanow.org. And I'll put that in the notes, which is a phenomenal tool just for specifically special needs as a result. But the reason I show you all this is not to hype it. Okay, so there's the Ask Stella Now version. You can use this for your own charity. For $100 a month through this, you can load up to 10 million words. And there's a little slider that you can use that will allow you to customize how much is only limited to the information that's on there and those that are not. For those of you in the adoption community, we can load up all of Karen Purvis's books, videos, everything into this tool and use that as an expert system. You need somebody that can talk families off the ledge at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you can't have somebody staffing a phone. You're going to be able to do this with a tool like this with AI. It is an absolute game changer. I'm happy to walk you through in more detail on how to do this. I actually created one for me here. I've loaded it up, and this is one thing that I am now charging for. I'm going to be charging for, but the salesperson can upload their presentation and say, hey, I'm doing this presentation for a client. Can you tell me where IHL data can be done? And can you give me your opinion on how to approve it for the client? And it literally will go through our memories of all the stuff that we've ever done and walk them through, consulting them on how to make changes and improve their specific deck here for that. So this is something we offer to our clients, our larger clients. on a just part of their subscription, but we're going to be charging for it on a monthly fee to individuals that might want to use it. So this Delphi AI is an absolute game changer. It is phenomenal. The Ask Fran's better than mine, but it is absolutely phenomenal with what it does. Absolute game changer tool. Okay, Perplexity, we talked a bit about that. It's an answer engine. If I was to go back to any of those browsers again, and I just went to, Perplexity, and here for that, you just ask, just says, how far is it to South Africa from Nashville? And it's just going to give you the answer. Okay, it's not going to give you any ads. You don't have to fight through any ads here. It'll give you follow-up questions, etc. It's just wonderful. Highly recommend you use that. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything unless you want to do their API for things there. But you can do financial analysis. You can tell it to plan trips, entire trips for you. It's just phenomenal. Google AI Studio. This is one of those jaw droppers as well. So let me go back to Chrome. What the Google AI Studio will allow you to do is, this is free, completely free. You can talk to it. I can upload a picture here. You can actually code to it. You can upload a picture and say, what do you see here? Hey, I lost my keys. Can you find my keys? You can do all those things with Google AI Studio. This is, once again, a free tool that is out there. Grok, I don't have time to go through that right now. This is Elon's new AI. It's phenomenal. The main difference about Grok is you get real world what's happening on Twitter or X in real time. It's the only AI that'll give you real time information on trends and what's happening right now there for that. And I like the voice the best, Candace Cameron Bure, mainly because you can interrupt her as she's starting and you just keep going there. And just keep having a conversation. One of the best things you can do is take any of these with your mobile app and just put it on audio mode and just have a conversation and brainstorm with them when you're in the car or traveling. It's just phenomenal. Personal best practices here as we get to the top of the hour. And I know some of you got to leave here for this, but just bear with me if you can for a little longer or get the recording. You want to start thinking through your job and your life as a series of tasks. Write it out. That's why I gave you that second handout. Write out what you do, what takes 4 hours or longer to do, because that, where those intersect, that is a candidate to optimize and to automate what you're doing in particular. So you want to start thinking AI first. Can I use AI for this when you go to these tasks? And what's great is you can use a tool like Loom. Okay, so Loom is an online video tool where you can record 5 minutes of your screen or you talking, like just to act like you're training somebody how to do something. And then you can take that and you can go back to what we called ChatGPT. Bear with me there. I think we were in comment for that. You can go back to ChatGPT and then you can go to this. Where did I go? It's there. I got to look for it. I'll search for it. SOP. And you take that video, you go to one of these, SOP builder, start to chat, you upload your video. Okay. You would upload your video and you would say, hey, create a standard operating procedure from this. Then you take the output of that and you say, I'd like to see if I can automate this process. How would you recommend that I go about trying to automate this process? What parts can be automated? What parts can't be automated? And then you say, once you have that, you say, okay, write the prompt such that I can build the application that will automate this. And you could do all of those things in ChatGPT. You can do the Claude, you can do the pieces other than evaluating the video and the standard operating procedure piece. You can do them in all of them, but this one's specifically designed for that process for you there. And so that is a great way. So you may have 10 steps and AI can do 6 of them for you. That's really, really helpful. Basically, use projects, customizations, personalizations, and memory in ChatGPT. One of the big enhancements that's been made recently is it remembers everything you do, and there's a memory thing. So you want to go in there and just make sure that this is still valid of what you're looking at. And it filters everything through that memory and through that customization before it answers. Turn on the setting, as I mentioned, not to train it. And as I mentioned, use the voice mode when you're in a car or whatever. It's much faster than typing. So my recommended toolkit for everybody is pay the $20 there for the ChatGPT and pay $7 for the Blazing Zebra Patreon account. That will be money well spent for you if you want to get into AI. And then there's a third tool here, this Abacus AI, that I don't have time to get into, but it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of AI tools. It allows you to use all of these different models as part of what you're doing, and it will create programs for you. It'll create apps for you. It'll let you vibe code, etc., and do all of those things. So then you've got all these other tools. Perplexity, I showed you. Google Gemini, there, which is just gemini.google.com. Similar interface to what you saw with AI Studio. You can code with that. You can search for that. You can do a lot of really good things. Loom is the video tool. Notebook LM, that's the free one. Once again, if you pay the $7, let me know. I'll give you access to my Notebook LM there. Claude, you can use for infographics and code and writing, which is fabulous. I personally bought YouTube Premium. Drives my poor wife Michelle crazy because I listen on 2 times on that stuff, but I can listen like podcast and listen to these videos there. And now there are a couple Chrome add-ons that are really, really good. I do want to show you those Chrome add-ons. They're free for you to use. So I'll go back and I'll just go into Comet again and show you. TextBlaze is right here. And this is all those things you cut, copy, and paste. Okay. So like, for instance, when somebody asks me, hey, I want to do a webinar, there it is. There's everything I write about webinars is there. Okay. If somebody asks me, hey, I want to register for your webinar, there it is. I've got a note for that. Where I pay $2 is a month is because you can do forms. So somebody wants to do an intro to me or is doing an intro. All I got to do is sit / intro. No, what is it? What did I do? There it is. And all I have to do is type the name. Thanks so much for the introducer to the new person. Thanks again, introducer. Boom, done. I open up an email. I put that in there. I type 3 words and hit insert and go. Great tool. It's free unless you're doing those forms like that. You can create these little snippets that you have access to on any web interface. It does not work in Outlook on your device, but it does with Outlook online for what you're doing. Works great with Gmail, etc. The next one is, let me go like CNBC. Let's see what's happening in the world. And we go here, and now I've got this tool called Summarize with ChatGPT. You get the key points here, but this will now go out, and this will be a little slow right now because everybody's using ChatGPT 5. It gives you a bulleted summary of everything. If I was to go to YouTube, but it'll summarize everything that's in this video for things for you for that. Grace may not have it out there yet. She may not have the transcript done yet for that. It was only 3 hours ago. But if we went to something older, a day ago, something like this.
Hello, everyone.
It would
what
do
if I told you
that
there's
summarize.
A single platform that gives you access to all the action.
And it should come up. And once again, it's much faster. ChatGPT is getting hammered right now because it's brand new. So, but this works really, really good normally to show you that. So those are 2 Chrome add-ons. They're both free that you get access to. So that's my recommended toolkit. Steps to automating, as I mentioned earlier, this is how you would go about doing those tasks. So the big question everybody asks is, what about my job? What about my kids? What about my company? Highly recommend this custom GPT called Jobs GPT that is on ChatGPT out there. It'll go out there and you can put any job in there. It will tell you what it thinks most likely to be disrupted. You can ask about what careers should my kids go into, etc. How can you transform your company? You can give those scenarios to it. It's phenomenal. And that's based on a podcast, a guy in a podcast called the Artificial Intelligence Show podcast. He's the one that developed it, his company SmarterX there for that. That is really good. This has profound impacts on kids. This is the first industrial revolution that impacts white collar workers first instead of blue collar workers. And where there are jobs, you start thinking of jobs like nurses is probably safe. There, the technicians for heating and air conditioning type jobs, anything trade type stuff, all the stuff you used to learn in shop and school that they would have, car mechanics, etc. They'll have AI tools being used there, but there's still a tremendous amount of jobs there. Where it's disrupting is a lot of entry jobs that we have with new grads. I've got 2 new grads looking for jobs right now, and it's really tough out there. And those sort of things are still needed. So this will walk through which jobs are being disrupted and which jobs are going to be Very, very helpful. A lot of people ask me, where do you make money on this? Where's the most money to make in stocks? I've got a list of stocks. I'm happy to send you some private companies that are going to go public to buy their stocks as you go forward. But right now, most of the money's been made in this orange section right now. And most of the money's being spent on this yellow or this red section. And these green guys and the blue guys have been spending the money on the red and the orange. Okay. We mentioned the power. These are the stocks that make power generation out there. There's another one called Oklo, which has done really, really well there. So power, but the size of these blocks are I try to make them in terms of the size of the benefits the companies are going to get. The real benefits long term are going to come from the big companies that transform their operations. And it's really hard. It is like taking a battleship and turning it into an aircraft carrier. You have to have your company think more like tasks rather than this person does this job with 50 things that they do, which is 30 of them are the same as the next person. You want to start looking at what tasks go across these things that we can eliminate or start to automate to make things do. And that's a big change for some folks there. And some will be there, some will not. I created a tool that's out there on our website. I think it's hyperlinked, and you can go to it on a website. It literally took an equation that I learned about on the All In podcast, and I had AI evaluate the top 140 or 493 companies that were not the Mag 7 in the Fortune 500 and give a ranking to who was best positioned and who was not best positioned for things when it comes to AI and being disrupted by AI in the future. And this is not the end all be all for stock analysis, but it tells you what's going on. Number one, the company, if you sort it this way, is Union Pacific Railroad, because they have all these offline assets where they own the railroad tracks and they own the trains. And then they just bought Norfolk Southern, which is a railroad company here on the East Coast. Now they have a nationwide railroad that is very hard to disrupt. And oh, by the way, they're using AI a lot as well. So long-term stock, very, very helpful with that. Going back to the deck. So I've got a list of tools here. Audio visual, we're recording on Riverside right now. The clone I showed you was HeyGen. 11 Labs is the best for voice cloning. It's absolutely amazing at how good it is, those two tools. There's some other tools to making videos, etc. Presentations, Beautiful.ai and Gamma are really good. And certainly you have Canva is very popular there as well. Copilot 365 for PowerPoint is really, really good if you got to keep everything in-house there, but it is $390 up front, so it is very expensive. You can't just buy a monthly like everybody else. Marketing tools, Zapier is a automation platform. It allows you to connect everything, says, hey, here's a trigger here. I want you to go do this when that happens, and when that's done, go do this, etc. Zapier is really, really good. It is connected to all of these items as well. Make.com is a competitor. HubSpot is kind of cornering the market on the CRM from an integration standpoint with all of these. So that's that piece. So company best practices, just real quick, assign one or more people to become AI experts in your company. These are going to be your orchestrators and engineers. They're great job opportunities. They can build, but they can also guide through that. Bring a manufacturing mindset to your process. Think of tasks of the job there. Begin to think AI first. And then if you are a leader, over communicate with your team. Everybody's first response is fear. It's going to take my job. So you have to over communicate that this is to allow us to do the things we haven't been able to do due to lack of time. And hopefully it takes the drudgery out of your time and just the brainless tasks that you've been doing that AI can do. So there are these different roles. I'm gonna leave it with that so I can get to more questions. But there are three roles: the visionary, which is normally the leader who just gives everybody the authority to do AI. There's the implementer. This is the technical person who's going to start doing these things for you and helping you create these things. And then there's the operator. This is probably the key role. This is the person who knows all the tools there and knows how to take what you do and move it to that. So that's kind of the role that I've been taking as we help companies to do things. So if you've got a company that is looking for help in that sense, a nonprofit or whatever, that's kind of where we're shifting a lot of our business towards, and we can help you do that. But if you don't have that, if you can create that person internally, that can help your whole company with that mindset. Process oriented and they don't know the job specifically, so they need to ask good questions so that they can meet the needs for that. And that's it from the slides. Thanks for hanging in there. It was an hour and 15 minutes to get us to this point, and now open to questions that you may have for that. Beth, you want to jump on? Are there questions that popped up? Oh, yeah, there's one from Lori. Does a free version of ChatGPT provide different results? It's not so much different results; it's a more intelligent solution. So everybody, as of last night, has access to ChatGPT 5, and this is the first one that thinks through things. So let me turn the camera back on. So you have the ability to now ask it questions, and then it will reason through and think what is the best way to answer that problem. However, the amount of time you get to do that, how much it thinks, how good your answer is based on whether you have a paid version. And there are things that are what we call agentic, where it can start like taking over your computer and doing things on your behalf. That happens with the paid plans that you can't do on the free plans for ChatGPT. If you have paid for the books there and you have a license for them, you can upload those into Notebook LM. You can upload those as context type thing. It makes sense to keep those private. But Nicole, your question for everybody, translating things in lectures into Spanish, yeah, that can be done. That can be done with HeyGen. That can be done with, well, Google can do it natively there as well with Gemini. I can talk to you offline on how to do this, because you may be doing this in mass there. That's good. So what you may want to do is I don't know, is this, so the speaker is going to be, what I need to know is the speaker going to be on the screen the whole time there. And that what's nice about what I showed you with Ask Fran and everything else there too, is if you train it in that language, if you give samples in that language and somebody asks for that in Spanish, it will respond in Spanish to that person. It will talk in Spanish. It'll talk in 50 different languages as long as you train on that. But converting your videos in mass, that can be done, but you're probably looking at a major tool to do that in real time. And it's going to be auto dubbing, so it's better that we talk offline because it's there. Oh yeah, so Beth, she asked about what AI could consolidate an organic academic research paper into a 1-minute video outlining the most meaningful takeaways. The best tool to use for that is just Notebook LM there for Google. It has the built-in video feature now. You may have to pay the $20 a month to get the video for that, or you can just upload the paper, get an outline for it, and go to any of the video tools that are listed and say, create a video based on that. InVideo is really good for that. You just take the outline and say, hey, I would like you to create a video about this topic. It's very, very good. But yeah, Nicole, I sent you a note about talking offline. There's a ton of stuff you asked about in your question there, and it may be good for just us to do a separate call altogether. But those are excellent questions.
I just typed in the chat, Greg. Rob asked, with the downside implications for creators vis-a-vis copyright control with AI, are there any safeguards you see for creators?
I'm sorry, are there any what for creators?
Safeguards that you see.
The way the law is right now, Rob, and Jed, looks like your question is somewhat similar to that. If you purchase a license to that, it's like using that purchased copy to make that new content. So when it's a little different from music, like you're in, versus books, you can't rewrite the book. So for instance, Jed, if we uploaded Tim Keller's book into the Ask Fran or the Ask Jed or Ask CAFO type thing, you would have access to all of that information in there as answers to questions. It would not, it would paraphrase it or pull it out. It would quote it just like you would do for a research paper there. But if you have a paid license, you can upload that into that license or product or whatever it is. You can do books, you can do PDFs, you can do research reports, you can do all of that stuff. The law is still very green. Rob, protections in music, it's far stronger than it is for print, for content, and I don't know about art. Jed, I really should show you that I didn't go through the entire customization. You may not even have to upload the entire book from Tim Keller, because he talks about the concepts that are in his book. And if that's been talked about, there's a video out there of him talking about it, and that information is in an LLM already. And if you just prompt it correctly, you can get the answers out of what he shared on his book just verbally. And that is all free open source information for that. But you guys, you guys would tremendously benefit from this Delphi AI tool like this Ask Fran that I created. And I did not get a chance to go through the configuration there, but it's really astounding at how good it is. Highly encourage you to play with Ask Fran. Ask her anything about seniors, anything related to seniors in Franklin, Tennessee. You can text, you could say, hey, build me a care plan for a mother who just fell down and she broke her hip. You can do all of that stuff. And it'll not only look at its resources, but it'll go out to the internet and pull the best resources in there. You can ask about what retailers do this. We did like some similar, like I said, with Ask Stella. So Jed, in your world, the special needs kids, hey, we're traveling to here, or there's special needs playgrounds that are available. What churches have special needs ministries? You can do all that stuff and build that knowledge base. It's 24/7. You can have it in multiple languages. It can be around the world. It's really astonishing. And you're looking probably anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 a year in terms of the fees and to keep it updated, etc., in terms of cost. But it's available worldwide, 24/7, unlimited use. I have a friend who's looking to build one for first responders. They get off a shift, maybe a child died in their care, they can't bring that home, and they want to build one that they can talk to at 3 o'clock in the morning to talk them off the ledge when they don't know what to do. This technology is one of those where my mouth just dropped. Christy, we provide foster care, adoption, counseling services. What is the best engine to use to analyze client data without violating HIPAA? You can use, I would consider doing it offline. There is a tool called Llama Studio, and Llama Studio is run the AI locally, particularly if you've got a good PC with a good graphics card. And the new ChatGPT, they released this week a new open source model that's been trained on everything on the internet. But you can use that. It's a little slower than doing online, but you can use that type of thing for that, where you are 100% sure it's not going to violate HIPAA there, because it all resides in your system itself.
Craig, Mary asked a question. Can AI search my iCloud computer files to gather specific information I need?
Your iPod?
Your iCloud
computer
files.
iCloud, it can do OneDrive, it can do Google Drive. iCloud, I don't know. I don't know how the permissions work for that. I have not seen that use case. If you put that information into a Google Drive or on a OneDrive or anything like that, yes, natively, you can actually just connect the whole drive. And every night, overnight, it'll index the entire drive for you. Other questions?
I think that's it.
So, Jed, I would love to do something with CAFO and help you guys out, kind of talk through. Let's just set up a separate call there. What I didn't show, in fact, I'll show it now at the end for ChatGPT. My customization in ChatGPT, I'll just even go to my project for Bible study. I don't even have to type anything in other than the thing. I just say Matthew 6:33. And because I've got that in there, it knows how I want the data because I've trained it. And it's literally going to go through and it's going to give me Tim Keller. It's going to give me Warren Wiersbe. It's going to give me all this stuff. And it's going to give me the original Greek related to that I can look at. And then I can say, did it give me Tim Keller there? It gave me Matthew Henry, Spurgeon, Wesley. And I could just say, what did Tim Keller say about this? And then I can say, how does it apply to my ministry? So now it's going through its memory. It knows what I do with orphans and stuff there. And now it's going through there. Now, I may be limited because I'm in the Bible study section, but it's really mind-blowing when you put these details in there and focus on that. That's interesting. Like I said, ChatGPT right now is getting hammered today because it just came out yesterday. But it's really astounding, and I can send you some of those conversations as a result of that. But I use it for that. I use it for business stuff. Deep research is amazing there. So, So Mary, I saw your note on Ask Fran type of thing with C11. It's really astounding. It's really, really good. We have not publicly released that yet, marketing it yet, but it's really amazing. Oh, and by the way, for everybody that's still on, you can add different instances of the same clone with different information for $10 more a month. So you could have one for, let's say, Ask CAFO UK or Ask CAFO Espanol type of thing. All the same content is in there. All the training is in there, but now you've got the Spanish version and you've got some Spanish content that's been in there in videos and that sort of stuff. I've got mine that I've got a podcast, the Bible study podcast that I created, and literally the same one I trained all my business information in there. I can now do the spiritual information as well. Yeah. So Jed, if you want a phone number, it's $500 a month. That's not the nonprofit price. They are really good at working with nonprofits. It's $100 a month to be able to just talk to it on a computer. And do it like that. If you need a phone number, they charge $500 a month for that. And it also has a video clone option as well, which is still a little kludgy, but there's all these other benefits that come with that. And the $500 a month. The $100 a month is probably the best for you, unless you wanted to have 1-800-CAFO there, or 555-CAFO, is to be able to actually talk to it. And that's $100 a month. So in that case, you'd be looking at $1,200 a month. Plus, you've got to pay to get it set up or spend that time. And then you're going to keep adding things to it and checking it and fine tuning it, et cetera, over time. If you do the $100 a month, maybe you're looking at $5,000 or $6,000 a year total cost associated with that as you add content. Like if you added everything from CAFO this year, all those audio files could go right in there. Every training, everything. You could have a CAFO 2025 literally thing where you could ask any question on it. And for $10 more a month, it's just CAFO 2025 content. Or you can add that to the main one and offer that as content with everything that's ever been out there for stuff there. So it's really, really phenomenal there. It's like I said, you get 10 million words. But I was saying $12,000 if you need to have a phone number that somebody can call, that they can talk to it at 24/7 on a regular phone line. That's that. But if it's okay with it doing over the computer, you can do it for a lot cheaper. How can you charge orgs to access your custom Ask Fran? It actually integrates with Stripe, Mary. So if you had your C11 and you wanted to make that available, let's say for $10 a month, I'm going to charge $24.95 a month and $199 a year for my business one there. And that's how it works. And it's built in. You just have to create that instance, make it available. And you got some features that you go in there and say, once again, how tight do you want this and how much can it go out for additional content beyond what it's in there? Maybe I'll do a separate session that's just on the Ask Fran stuff, which would be a lot of fun just to dig into that back end. Jed, your question on if you upload audio files, can it draw from that or does it need the text? It actually draws from the audio. It'll create text. It'll actually transcribe it from that audio file. Similarly, it'll do the videos that way as well. So if I can help you guys, let me know. This is, like I said, this is somewhat what we're making our living on a little bit on this, and using some of these tools in the back end for our traditional stuff. But I just love teaching this stuff to people. It's a lot of fun to see eyeballs go off, light bulbs go off, and people get excited about it. So, with that, it looks like we've exhausted the questions. Thanks everybody for going long, and I'll put this deck together and send it to you. This will be fun, and if I can help, let me know, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Thanks everybody.